The Cascade in CSS is your trick to clean and readable code. So the cascade refers to how you can define a style on an element, and then it's going to cascade down to other elements below it. Kind of like how a waterfall cascades down. The water starts at the top, and then it works its way down towards the bottom, hitting as many rocks as it can on the way. So an example of this would be if I were to change the font size on the HTML element. Let's just change the font size to 14 pixels. That's going to cascade down from the HTML element down to the body, and then it's going to cascade down to the div, and then finally down to this h1 tag here where there is actual text, and it's going to actually visually change the font size on that text. And this cascading not only works with HTML and body elements, but it also works with just about any tag that you want. So I can add something to this div tag here, and it could cascade down 20 different levels if it actually needed to. So let's dive in a little bit deeper and let's see how this actually works. Now we've already changed the font size for everything in the document, but what if I wanted to change the font size for just everything inside of this div? What if I wanted to make it a little bit bigger? We could go to each individual one and change the font size individually, or we could select this header and let the cascade do the work for us. So let's do that. Let's select that header and let's set the font size to 1.4 rem. And you're going to see that everything just inside of that div here, just this stuff right here inside of this div, is going to get bigger. And that's because we set the value on this header, or this div with the class of header, and then it's going to cascade that value all the way down until there isn't anything else for it to cascade to. So the cascade is only going to cascade down to child elements. It's not going to cascade to other sibling elements. So nothing inside of this div down here is going to change, but everything inside of this div has changed. Now let's take a look at another simple example. Let's say I want to change the font weight for these two elements right here. Well, I could go in and individually change each one of them, selecting each one and individually changing the font weight for each one. Or I could select the parent element that they're both inside of and change the font weight on that. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's select the div that they are both inside of, and we will change the font weight to a bold. And once I save, you can see that these two elements here have changed their font weight to a bold, but this one has not. And you can see this p tag right here is not nested inside of this div tag, so it's not going to receive that cascade effect. Now let's take a look at one more example. Let's say I want to change the font color of everything inside of this div tag. So go ahead and select that parent div, and we'll change the color to a green. And you can see now everything that has text inside of that div tag, including this header tag here and this p tag down here, has changed its color to green. And that's because it's cascading from this down to each individual one of these that will accept text color. Now how exactly does this work? I mean, it's not going to just cascade all the way down all by itself without the influence of something else, right? And even if it does, how do you stop it? Well, let's talk about inheritance. So inheritance is what's going to allow an element to receive styles from its parents, and by default just about everything is inherited except for the occasional height and width positional stuff. And this default inheritance is what allows the cascade to work. But how do we stop it? So by default it's going to look a little something like this. So we have the element and the property, let's say color, it's going to inherit its value from its parents. So this is telling it explicitly to inherit the color from its parent. Now, if we wanted to stop it, we could either override it, so let's say set it to red, just like that, or we could set it to its initial value, which is the default value originally set by the browser. And that's about it for how the cascade works. If you did like the video, make sure you slap a like on it. Check out the full playlist, link is right next to me. Make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.